Hello my lovely friends and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Joanna, but you can call me Jo. Today we are doing a reading vlog. It's one of the things I love to do on my channel. The other reading vlogs I've done have focused on trendy viral books, so I decided to take a different approach today and we are going to be reading a classic.
I know, reading a classic on camera, who do I think I am?
I am too smart! S-M-R-T! I mean S-M-A-R-T!
I've decided to pick up A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I went into this book completely blind. I had no concept of what it was about. I didn't even read the blurb. So the only reason I actually picked it up was because it was cheap. I got it from a charity shop for £1. Money please! Secondly, my favourite colour is orange, as you can tell. I have also decided to match the book cover today because I'm cute like that. And thirdly, I liked the cover. I know these are all incredibly vapid but valid reasons to buy a book. Once I bought this book, I started to see the name everywhere and I stumbled across a Buzzfeed article. It was essentially a list of life-changing books. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover was on there.
Can you believe?
I read that the other week. Didn't find it that life-changing. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn was also on that list, and since I already owned it, I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to actually see if this book was life-changing. I guess we'll see. So without further ado, let's go! Day one, I'm about to start A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I'll probably update you every 100 pages, I think. So see you in 100 pages unless something happens before then. Okay, I'm updating you a little sooner than I thought I would. 50 pages in and I've just reached book 2. Very much enjoying it, it's beautiful and I'm already seeing a lot of myself in the character and just the way she thinks about the world so far. There's not really much of a plot and I'm expecting that this will be the point. I think we're mainly just focusing on her.
Her?
We, as the reader, are pretty much delving into her mind.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about cats again.
And we are seeing sort of her unfiltered thoughts, but it's not quite a stream of consciousness. It's definitely a lot more polished than that, which I appreciate. I love stream of consciousness, but it can go on loads of tangents, and these actually don't feel like tangents. These feel purposeful and you can really understand where she's coming from and why she's saying these things. Despite her young age, she is only 11 at this point in the book. She is observant, she's very much a people watcher, and she understands social hierarchy. She's putting things together as to why people act in certain ways, and basically she's collecting a lot of information that she's heard about people and bringing it to a central point within herself, and that is where she's drawing her conclusions from. It's so well crafted.
Okay, so good, it is so good.
I also think the language chosen really highlights the innocence of childhood. It's written in pretty simple terms and you can really understand how she's breaking it down logically in her mind. The nuance in this would have definitely been lost if the author went with bigger words. It almost makes it more heartbreaking that it's pretty straightforward language because you can really understand this is a young girl going through some really adult situations that she should not be put in. It's nice to see that despite the fact that she is in that situation, she does have her own rituals and she has her own safe spaces. She's a reader, she reads a lot, and I remember when I was that age I also read more than I read now, and I do think a big part of it was to experience someone else's life and be in another world. Definitely there's a lot of escapism. It's her safe space. It's something she has to do in order to feel better. So yeah, only 50 pages in and I feel like I've picked up on a lot of nuance already, which is nice. So far, so good.
2 hours later.
I've reached 100 pages and a lot has happened. Basically, we've been told about both sides of the family in terms of their hardships and how they ended up in America, and
Just a lot of trauma.
we pretty much now know the dynamics within all of the family, and we've also learned other people's personalities. This book has very vivid descriptions. I feel like I know these people.
Just a name! I know this man!
They're so three-dimensional, they're so alive in the pages. It displays everyone so well, and the book itself addresses the fact that the main character, the young girl, has elements of all of these people within her. Betty Smith essentially says that she's a mosaic of everyone that she comes across, but not just people, everything. And I found that really moving.
I'm feeling...
It's been interesting to read more about her parents' relationship and their relationship with her, where her father didn't really want to be a father, and her mother felt like she had to look after everyone, her children and the father of her children.
You're not a baby, you're a man!
Which is such a delicate situation to be put in. And she is sort of coming across as a boy mum. She sees him as a mirror of what her husband could be, and she wants to make sure that he becomes a better man than his father. Whereas, in comparison to how she views her daughter, very different. She doesn't actually have that foundational care and love that she has for her son. So that's yikes.
You guys are in a crisis. I'm on my way.
I'm intrigued to see how their relationship is going to move forward, if that's already something that's starting to come up. Earlier in the book, we were also told that the daughter prefers her dad, despite the fact that she understands that her mum does a lot more for her, because her dad is the fun one. We as the reader understand that he's not exactly the fun one, he's just immature.
If I had a mic right now, I'd drop it.
I reckon she is going to have a rude awakening of realising that her dad is not everything he has lived up to be. With children, I think they never really realise until they're older. So it will be interesting to see if she comes to that realisation herself. Overall, really enjoying it. I can definitely see why people call it a classic, but it doesn't feel like one of those classics that you really have to force yourself to read.
I don't wanna do this anymore.
I feel like it's flowing really well so far, so I hope it continues.
The following day.
And we're back. I have continued to read this off camera, but in the midst of a bank holiday weekend, I've actually been up and out of the house doing stuff. I know, shock. So I haven't actually had time to properly sit down and read in front of the camera. I thought I'd update you. Currently, I am on page 294, so I've done a pretty good dent, definitely over halfway, which is great. The structure of the book has slightly changed a little. In the beginning, we were just generally given the impression about this family, whereas now we're really diving in. We're getting a chronological timeline of events. Without going into spoilers, I think the best way that I can put it is that some big life events have happened.
Oh, don't cry, are you?
Most of them are pretty sad, but just as the title of the book suggests, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, we're kind of understanding there's an ongoing motif in the book, kind of explaining how she finds trees growing in bad environments where usually trees would not be able to thrive. It's very tongue-in-cheek. You can really understand that it's a mirror reflection of this character and the fact that she is growing up in an environment that's not ideal for children, and yet I'm really excited to see what she does with herself and how she can progress from here. I think my biggest wish going forward with the story is that she manages to find a way to remain soft. It would be such a shame to see her turn cold because of the cold world she finds herself in.
I just have a lot of feelings.
It's incredible how the author has managed to describe these very specific feelings and emotions that go through the character's head in a way that feels universal, so that anyone can actually understand this, despite the fact that they probably haven't encountered similar situations. I can still have sympathy and understand her thought process, and how she gets from point A to point B is incredible. The character that she has created is reclusive and she's lonely and she feels misunderstood, and yet there's probably so many readers that read this story and identify with her. I think there's a real tangible magic to that.
You're absolutely mental.
So I'm very excited to keep reading. I've just reached part 4 of the book, and I wanted to put some emphasis on something that I've noticed based on my own experience being an immigrant. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn was written in 1943, and it's set sort of in the early 1900s, and yet so many ideologies that are prominent within this book are things that I myself have heard within my lifetime from older family members, and I'm finding it kind of insane seeing these ideas written and seeing that the author herself had the knowledge of the fact that these are old views, they're not modern, these are old ideas that really don't have any substance and they shouldn't really dictate so much of these people's lives. It's actually kind of wild to see physical evidence that these ideas have been around for so long, and seeing that they can cling on so ferociously throughout generations. I really wouldn't expect the mindset of 1900s Brooklyn to mirror the villages in Portugal currently. It just kind of goes to show how stuck in time some populations are.
You know something? You're right.
I'm excited for part 4 and to see what else I can dissect.
Later.
I'm currently on page 451. Okay, let's look at the spoilers. We're pretty close to finishing, considering that the book is 487 pages long. However, I've been reading all day and I am feeling a bit fatigued. It's very good, but it's pretty heavy. I just want to get a good night's rest and then I'll continue and finish it tomorrow morning probably. But thoughts, feelings, emotions.
You seem a little,
What? Fine? Because I am. Who else is fine?
It's really interesting to see what Brooklyn was like before the war and during the war. That theme is starting to creep up, so I'm slightly worried that we might have a death relating to the war. Maybe. I guess I'll just have to kind of wait and see for tomorrow. I haven't cried so far, which is good. Very proud of myself. I can't really tell how it's going to end because of the fact that there is no plot really. It is just an exploration of her life. It can go either way. Good night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Mwah!
Early the next morning.
We are back for the final day of A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. 32 pages to go.
Bruh.
Fucker.
the tea is exceptionally good today. And we are done. I actually don't really know what to say about this book. I loved it so much. I gave it 5 stars. It was an absolute pleasure to read. The ending was a bit bittersweet for me, mainly because I just wish we could continue following her life. I feel like it kind of ended prematurely.
There's people that are dying.
But then I suppose that might be the point, because she ends up leaving Brooklyn, and maybe in a way she feels like her life is not the same when she's not in Brooklyn. At least that's what I got from it. That is definitely a concept that she explored in the book of, you know, she might not find another Brooklyn. She thinks that New York doesn't have the same quality and essence as Brooklyn. So with her moving away, maybe that's where the story just naturally ends for her. Despite the struggle and the hopelessness that this book focuses on, I think the thing that really affected me personally was the tree. Towards the end of the book, she was able to look at that tree and see herself reflected back at her and be like, wow, I was a tree in this bad environment, and yet here I am living. It just made me really sad, and it was the perfect way to end this book. And I just like the fact that we got to see the stages of the life of this tree, just as we were seeing the stages of her life. I just found it really moving and beautiful. So I suppose to answer my own question, is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn life-changing? Has it changed my life? I think so, but definitely not in an astounding way. It's quite a muted change, I think. It was life-affirming. The fact that I could see myself and see thoughts that I myself have had, I don't think I've connected to a character this much for a really long time. That's obviously a very big element of it, but also making the best out of everything. I think that's definitely something that I will try to take with me throughout my own life, instead of focusing so much on the negative, which I know I definitely do. It's good to take it as it comes, but also try to see the good in things, and I think that sums up this book pretty well. So yeah, I'm glad I read it, and I think it will be a book I'll think about for a really long time. It's definitely planted some sort of root within me, and I think I feel quite attached and anchored to it. So yes, I will definitely be sure to read this again at another point in my lifetime. Recommend it to anyone and everyone. And if anything, I think the lesson that I learned is that you can continue to grow in a bad environment, and to not fear change. Change is good, and change will help you develop. So, loved it. Yeah, really, really, really good. I'm sort of just blown away, I think. I'm so glad that I am vapid and that I picked up a book just because of its cover, because it actually paid off this time. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Leave me a like if you enjoyed the video, it really does help. Subscribe if you like, and ring the bell for notifications of when I next post. Alright, bye my lovely trees.